In Petsim 99, one of the most important things players need to use correctly is enchants. Without them, your setup could be useless. The only problem is it's also the most confusing and it honestly makes no sense. For this video, I'm only going to go into the special enchants and not the core ones like diamonds and coins because I think people already know those pretty well. So today, I'm going to be testing all 33 special enchants to see what's worth it and what's not. So make sure to stick around and let's get started. The book type I'm going to start on is definitely the most popular and is Boss Breakables. There are 5 enchants under this category and 2 you would think would be here actually aren't, so I'll get around to those later. Anyway, this type is known to be the most expensive but also the most worth it. Let's see if that's true. Before I start, I'm going to give my all the books and all my pets to keep it as free to play as possible. And for the people who like to comment that the tests are unfair, let me explain something real quick. My alt has no area upgrades, no game passes, doesn't use potions, and he has Rebirth 8, but you need it to get into Void World. Now with that out of the way, we can get testing. Each of the 5 books will be judged on their diamonds and item drops, how often they spawn, and their price compared to each other. I just want to make something 100% clear before we start. All of this testing will be comparison based because every person's going to have different numbers, but not different comparisons. To kick things off, I'm going to start with spawn rate. I timed each book for 30 minutes to see exactly how many would spawn. The lowest with only 2 spawns was Diamond Chest Mimic. Boss Chest Mimic also had 2 spawns, but got nerfed recently. I was only able to get 3 massive comets to spawn, but here's where it takes a pretty big jump. Boss Lucky Block spawned a total of 7 times, and normal Lucky Block spawned 10 times. Which is great, but the amount of spawns isn't the whole picture. What really matters is the drops. Just a warning, these amounts are going to be very low, but on a normal account, these will obviously be higher, so just keep that in mind. To start things off, the worst of the worst averages 0 gems and 2 items. If you can't already guess what it is, it's the Lucky Block. This isn't really surprising to me though because we got 10 in 30 minutes. It has to even itself out somehow. Second is the Diamond Chest. You can't get items from it, but it does average 3.5 thousand diamonds, which is the highest of the 5. Third is the Boss Chest Mimic, and it had an average of 0 diamonds and 10 items. This book has also been slowly falling in value, so it definitely got nerfed at some point. The next one actually surprised me. I wasn't expecting it to be this good for its price, but it had an average of 1,000 gems and 7 items, and it's none other than the Massive Comet. This leaves just one enchant. It was the Boss Lucky Block, and it had an average of 1,500 diamonds and 9 items. Honestly, really good, especially for its spawn rate being so high. If you're looking for a free-to-play enchant, the one I recommend is the Massive Comet, but if you have the money, I would definitely go for Boss Lucky Block. But something you want to think about is enchant stacking. Most of these don't stack past 1, and to be completely honest, I think you should try to be as diverse with these books as possible to just be on the safe side. This next type is more like a subcategory of the Boss Breakables, and it's spawn rate books. The difference with this and the other type is the previous 5 books had no other way to spawn them, but these do. This is where Superior Chest Mimic and Normal Chest Mimic come back because they can already naturally spawn without needing the enchant. People really haven't decided which is better, but something really good these books can do is rank quests. I do have to confess something before we start this category. I actually don't have a Chest Mimic to test because I was not about to spend 2 billion gems on a book. Honestly, it's a good book, but its value is messed up for 3 reasons. It was one of the first books, helped with rank quests that were annoying for a very long time, and because it was good for grinding and ranks, people loved it. But if it came out now, it would not be worth 2 billion gems. It's almost like a collector's item at this point, and less something you actually need on your team. Just a disclaimer if you thought this was the best enchant you could get. The 3 remaining spawn rate books will be judged on all drops, spawn rate increase, and the rank usefulness. The most important part of this is obviously how much the spawn rate is increased, so I'll start with that. First thing I did was a baseline test, and in 30 minutes I got 2 comets, 1 giant coin jar, and 6 mini chests. The first book I tried was Starfall, and we went from 2 to 4 comets, and it seems to either be a 2 times or a plus 100, which is very different, but I'm gonna assume 2 times. The second one is the Superior Chest Mimic, and I was really excited to try this one because I'm struggling to rank up because of that one quest. And from 30 minutes, I got 2, which is pretty good for an account like this. But is it 400 million gems good? I'll let you decide. Future me here, I just want to let you guys know that a lot of this video was recorded before the hacker update, and that Superior mini chests got a buff because they spawn more frequently, now have mastery, and drop more things. Last of the 3 enchants is Party Time, and it's more of a universal one, but my guess is it isn't as good. When I was testing, this seemed to be the case, but honestly, it's a little better than I thought it would be. If you cancel out everything we got in the baseline test, it gives us an additional item jar, comet, and coin jar. It may not seem like much, but it definitely adds up over time. The party time enchant's also really good for ranking up alts or just lower ranks because it gives you a lot of stuff you need. Here's what I recommend. Buy the superior chest mimic if you can afford it, but try not to sit on it, like try to sell it as soon as you can. And no matter how many gems you have, try to have a party time enchant because it just helps whenever you're in need for quests. Next category is damage, and it has 6 books. Out of these 6 enchants, 2 of them are straightforward, 2 of them are misleading, and 2 of them don't even tell you how much damage they do, so not very much to work with. I'll start with the easy ones. So Chestbreaker and Happy Pets do exactly what they say and are pretty easy to understand. Chestbreaker tells you exactly how much more damage into what it's going to do, and Happy Pets gives you a detailed explanation. I think these are pretty good model enchants. And the next 2 also do that, but in a less clear way, because they don't specify some things. First one is Shiny Supercharge, and it increases the amount of damage Shiny Pets do. Seems simple, but at one point Shiny Flags would qualify under this until they randomly decided to take it out and told nobody, and left no way to know in the description. Honestly kinda messed up, but the next one is on our part. Exotic Pet increases your best pet by 150%, but the problem is a lot of people think it boosts your best stat pet, when in reality, it's just the first pet in your inventory. A lot of people know about this now, but I thought it'd be helpful for the people who don't. Now we can move on to the last 2, which are Corruption and Explosive. When you read these, it tells you it's going to do something, but not how much. So let's look over Explosive. It says pets have a chance of igniting an explosive, but it doesn't tell us how often or even how much damage it will do. I'm pretty sure it's random, but it seems really similar to Tap Blast, except you don't have to tap, but we'll go over that book later. Once I put all my pets on, it actually happens pretty often, and if you're struggling with damage, I'd definitely recommend this, or at least to try it. The second one is Corruption. This one is a favorite of a lot of people because it's like a reverse critical. Criticals makes a hit 5 times as strong, but Corruption makes a breakable weaker. But I still didn't know by how much, and comments weren't strong enough to be accurate. It was perfect timing though because the boss fight in Obby World just started, so I was able to do my testing there, and found out that Corruption makes Breakables 4 times weaker. Honestly, this explains the price. I personally don't use damage books because I cover damage pretty well. Unless I'm on a chest, then I use Corruption, which I do recommend buying, and all these are pretty good if you're a newer player. But just remember, only you know how well you do damage, so kinda just use this information to help you with that. This next type is a subcategory for damage, and it is Orbs. As you already know, the 3 orb types are Nightmare, Magic, and Lightning. These do stack as much as you want, but no one's putting on 9 Orb Enchants. This test is going to be a little different because orbs are basically just copy paste with different colors, so it's going to be more experimental. I want to see if they move at different speeds, fire at different speeds, and how much damage they do. I do think damage is going to be different, but we don't know until we test. First thing is speed, and if I had auto farm, this would be really easy to do, but I don't. But just by looking at it, it seems to be going the same speed, but let me know in the comments. For now, it looks close enough for me. Next up is damage, which is the most important one. I tried testing on a mini chest, but that didn't last long enough, so I'm gonna have to use my 2 comments sparingly. First one I wanted to check was Nightmare, because it went extremely expensive a few weeks ago when we had the prison chest. I just wanted to see why we chose that one out of the 3. Nightmare ended up doing 900 mil, Lightning did 700 mil, and Magic only did 250. Magic I expected to do less, but Lightning kind of had me confused. Lightning costs more gems than Nightmare, and I know you shouldn't trust that, but when it's more than 2 times the price, you kind of start to wonder why. So then I skipped to fire rate because it could mean it's going lightning fast, which is why it's called that, but no, they all kind of go the same. I was really confused, but when I saw it break a bunch of breakables around it, I realized that there is a chance for it to break every surrounding breakable, like all the other lightning things in the game, so I guess it makes sense. Now with all that info, I can review them. It kind of matters what situation you're in because the lightning is better for breakable zones and nightmare is better for chests because there's only 1 breakable. And no one really cares about magic. Honestly, I think the orbs are underappreciated, so try to do some testing yourself. Next category is hatching, and there are 3 books: Huge Hunter, Shiny Hunter, and Super Shiny Hunter. The shiny books are very similar, so I'm going to start there. Normal Shiny Hunter adds 60% shiny odds, and Super adds 150%. The only difference is 5 huges worth of diamonds. Honestly, the Super Shiny Hunter is way too expensive for me, but to those who can afford it, don't only use them. As you should already know from earlier, is enchants slowly lose power the more you add. But the game sees the 2 Shiny Hunter books as completely different, so it's more worth it to do half Super and half normal. But you should definitely buy the Super Shiny Hunter book because it's a Corgi. Next book is Huge Hunter. I personally hate this book, and I don't think people really understand how little 25% is. Let's just assume you have the Huge Hunter Game Pass. You have a 6,250% boost already. That's 250 Huge Hunter books. And if you don't have the Game Pass, buy Huge Potions, because that's 12 books alone. But the worst part is, the books only stack 3 times, so it's 75% more at most. This book is a complete scam. Please do not waste your diamonds or enchant slots on this. Our final category, aside from the independents, is tap assistance. These books are dirt cheap, so that won't be any kind of a problem, but the only restraint these have is you need to have an auto clicker running for this to function properly, which is kind of a holdback for me. I guess I'll start with large taps, and what I found is it's kind of picky what it wants to apply to, and you can guess, but it almost feels like it's random. Another thing about it is it does barely any damage, and in my opinion, it's not really worth a spot on my loadout. Second is lightning, and there's actually 2 books. It's normal variant and it's super variant. This thing used to be a lot better, but I feel like it doesn't work as well as it used to. The only thing about this is it's really only usable in the breakable zone, and I still prefer the lightning orb over both variants, but if you are going to use one of these enchants, then make sure you use the super one. It's only 1 million gems. Next one is fireworks, and I'm going to keep this one short because I'm pretty sure it is the worst exclusive book possible. It might actually be just a visual effect because it feels like it does nothing. Second to last is Tap Blast, and at first I didn't think it was doing anything. I had to double check to make sure the enchant was on. When I was tapping, I realized that it doesn't even have any animation, and it just does its thing, which is kind of a weird choice. To be honest, this one doesn't do much either. They could at least make it a little bit more clear that it is even doing damage. They're not even trying to hide it. Last one of this category is Tap Teamwork, and this one is honestly so helpful for when you're dealing with chests of any kind. It basically makes your pets do damage 10% faster, which is really nice when there's only 1 breakable. And it stacks up to 6 times, so it can be 60% faster. And you don't even have to have multiple books for it to stack. All you gotta do is be lucky. To review this category, I'm not really a big fan of this type because I like to do multitasking, and requiring an auto clicker just annoys me so much. But some people don't have that problem with it, and that's kind of the main deciding factor. Finally, you have made it to the very last book type, and it is the independents. This type has 5 books that are so unique that they don't really fit into any categories, so I'm going to have to go over them one by one. First up is Super Magnet. As you've seen, I've been using it the whole video. I know this one's expensive. When I say it's a requirement, I mean it. You might be thinking magnet flags do the same thing, but that's wrong for 2 reasons. 1, it takes up your flag slot, and 2, magnet flags run out when this book won't. This book will only go up in value, so you need to buy it as soon as you can. Second is Mini Chest Fortune. I'm really not a big fan of this one because it only boosts mini chests instead of chests in general. This only really works if you pair it with a chest mimic, adding another reason why it's so expensive. Don't buy this one either unless you do have a chest mimic already, and by no means should you buy a chest mimic, but if you do have one already, this will make it better. Next up is Fortune. Honestly a really good book since release day, and because like I keep saying, enchants lose power with more and more of the same type, this gives a diamonds buff, so you can replace some diamonds book in your setup with the Fortune, and you will see a difference in the amount of diamonds you make. Not as good as it once was, but definitely still a solid book. Next we have the Hacker Key Hunter. This is the newest enchant and only exists for the current clan battle. When this book first came out, it was selling for 2 billion gems, but as of right now, it's already down to 50 million, and when the clan war is over, I see it barely reaching 5 million. If you don't already know, this book has the ability to give you either 2 or 3 times more hacker keys. But for some reason, every now and then, you'll even get 8 or 9 times. But that's very rare, and I've yet to see a good explanation why. My recommendation is to sell this book if you aren't in a clan, and if you are in a clan, it's okay, you'll just lose out on a few gems. Second to last book of the video is Fruity Enchant. This book basically gives your fruit 2 effects. First, fruits are used 2 times as fast, and second, your fruits get 25% buff. The funny thing to me is you're never trying to use both buffs at once. 2 times fruit speed is good for leveling up mastery, and once you hit max mastery, fruits become auto use, so it's like a permanent 25% buff on fruits. One last detail, fruity books stack twice and no more, but the second one is only half as efficient. Overall, a solid book and pretty helpful. Last book of the video is the best of them all. It is Midas Touch. In all seriousness, this might be the worst book of all time. It only affects coins, and you don't get the buff constantly. To bully it even more, it's a natural buff, so it can happen without the enchant. It's actually the most pathetic book, and its price reflects that. Thank you guys so much for staying to the end, but there is one last thing I want to point out. This game does revolve around combos. What I said about each book might be true alone, but whenever you have the 2 books together, it can really change the book itself. Try to experiment and figure out what works best for your loadout, and please don't try to follow ones online because most of the time people won't share their overpowered loadouts, and at least not their best one. Overall, I hope this gave you a general idea of how these expensive books work. Sorry that it's been so long since my last upload, but I plan to get back on upload schedule now that school is out. Make sure to join my Discord, link is on my channel page, and as always, I hope you learned something new. Thanks for watching.